Shalom, shalom, and shalom. Well, seeing a lot of things these days. Some of it's quite comical. You see, atheists, and I do have a few friends that are atheists, they believe everything must be logical. And there's nothing really wrong with logic, so long as you have all the facts. In most cases, you don't. I saw this really creative theist who used his heart and his mind and his imagination to create a bunch of nonsense about what Daniel and Revelations means. I mean, it was quite inventive. You know, it's probably better than some of the weird stories I used to tell Sarai. Neither one are true. As I told one atheist friend, logic is only that which man knows now, because you only have that much facts. Whatever you perceive may not necessarily be so. I didn't write all of this, but I was actually contemplating it. I kept it short. The example I gave to him was a little over 100 years ago, they thought man flying was preposterous, illogical, whimsical, foolish. Men fly all the time now. Even gone to the moon. So the logic of the day is not necessarily the pinnacle of existence. And to be creative and come up with ideas and concepts and ideologies that match your perception is also not necessarily true. Now, I use this. My shoes are pretty beaten up. I tend to wear them to death. But let's say the left boot here is logic, okay? And the right boot here is the heart, the mind, the imagination, the soul of a living human being. You're not going to be running around with just one shoe on. You need them both, because you're not going to see what is actually true without both shoes. So it requires both. You look at works of creation and monuments of man's intellect and creativity, if nothing else, to prove that. You have the structures. Let me think of a good one that I actually can think of that's actually valid. Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, Galileo. You have other writers that came up with ideas, concepts that are either were fulfilled in some aspect of their knowledge of the time, or at least some point of view of it. The automobile, both creative and logic. Ships, buildings, the hanging gardens of, I think it was in Babylon, were both creative and logical. So you cannot do one without the other, or you're going in unarmed. And in a inability to do, because you lack the other part. If you look at the human brain, the left side is logical, the right side is, well, we'll just call it spiritual, heart, imagination, concept. This side sees things that this side cannot realize. This side can realize things that this side can't comprehend. Both must be in order to see. You cannot have one without the other. You need both. Now, somebody's brought up my past to some degree. He means well. Of course, he's doing it very tactfully, very skillfully, and I'm impressed. But he is my brother. He is my brother. And he's allowed to ask those questions. And I try my best to answer them as best as I can. Sometimes I don't think I do it justice. Justice. I just try to do what I can. And a lot of things I'm doing what in the military, U.S. military calls double talking. Which means I'm saying something and not saying it at the same time. Or I'm trying to indicate something without saying it is so, or whatever. Some things about my life is very private. I don't share very well. The only people I would share with are in the... can't get the word out again. It's late at night. Well, anyhow, don't walk about. We'll just say it that way. But the world is a set of roads with intersecting paths. Sometimes you can go right, left, straight, take the fork, either left or right. And by doing so, each and every choice you make takes you to wherever you're going to end up. If you went into life and made the choices perfectly, you still may not get to where you want to be. Because other choices were made for you that may have been made 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, even 100 years before your existence. And therefore, you'll never end up where you would really want to be. And sometimes where you should be is where you think you don't want to be. You might say, well, I don't want to do this. There's either too much risk, too much possible danger. I don't see any return from this. All the stories we tell ourselves when we don't want to do something. The human mind can be very creative and come up with the most illogical statements as there are. Even logical selections are not necessarily the correct ones. Logic is only based upon the knowledge in which you have. And in life, you don't always have all the facts. So it's like going out with one shoe either on the left or the right foot. Neither one will get you very far alone. You need both. You need both. For my brother John, I hope you're doing well this week. I don't hear from you much. Keeping away from the British politics right now. I was too red-faced to deal with it. I mean, angry was an understatement. It's just as bad here with the politics here, but I haven't kept up with it either. because I know I'd be up in an uproar. Because we got fools moving around doing the will of a very small selective group, setting us on a course, which I have already explained. If you choose to believe it or not, it's up to you. You'll find out in the long run, as most people do. Because they can't see around the corner, see or know what's around the turn. But I know what's there. Hard to reinforce, except for making the statements now, and then years later see, I told you. Funny how that thing works out. I made a lot of bad choices in my life, John. But at the time, I thought it was the best choice to make. I mean, I went in the military because I had no way of making a living. Couldn't pay for schooling, so I had no choice. There's no jobs to be at. It's like now. I just locked out. This time around. Otherwise, I'd have been laid off back in February when everybody else got laid off. Still could happen, but I got a reprieve. And a raise. If we look at the world using only what you see before you, you're not going to see the truth. That's the way I see most people these days, John. They either blind themselves to the facts or they blind themselves to the truth by creating this wonderful illusion of nonsense. Like the light bulb guys who think they're going to get beamed up by Scotty and whisked away to a planet somewhere else, being saved by an alien race. At the same time, you got the Pauline Christians thinking they're going to get raptured out, so they don't have to go through it, because they're the chosen ones. When you read the book, it doesn't say that. It doesn't even say that. I find it comical, John. I find it comical. Sarai, the love of my life. All I can say that I won't say publicly is I hope you're doing well. I am here, as I promised. And I am a man who keeps his word fully. And for the rest of you guys that are either running around with the left shoe or the right shoe, I would suggest you put the other shoe on. Either you're Pauline Christian or atheist. Both are really, what? For me. Like I said, I have friends that are Pauline Christians, and I have friends that are atheists. I don't dislike them, but I don't always agree with them. As it should be. We shouldn't always agree. Sometimes disagreeing with somebody helps one or the other or both find the real truth in the end. It is in through that disagreement where the truth is boiled away from the nonsense. and is left to be seen. Very tired. Gotta go to bed. Very tired. Try to have a good night and be blessed. Good day. Shalom.